In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided 2022, the very first episode of the new year. Happy New Year to all of you. This is a DC Sports Podcast. I am Amit. That is LC. That is Matt. That is K-Dot. It is good to see you all in this new year. On the docket for you guys, we've got the Washington football team, their season over. Michigan football, Matt's team, season over. But they actually did great. So we're going to talk about that. And then LC's rugby rule of the day. And we conclude with the State of the Union, your DC Sports wraparound coverage segment, where we just say the name of a team and we talk about them a little bit. But we got to begin with the Washington football team. They fall to 6-10 on the season. Just not a good year considering where expectations were to begin it. They have a chance to finish 7-10 against the Giants, but it was a 20-16 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. A side note from that game, Jalen Hurts almost had his career ended because a railing fell and a number of fans fell next to him, and it could have blown his knee out. Who knows what could have happened there? But FedEx Field, the gift that keeps on giving to us fans and observers. It's ridiculous, but they lost 20-16. K-Dot, beginning with you. What were your thoughts on the game? What were your thoughts on the season?
Well, I mean, when you've got low expectations like fourth in division, I mean, nothing really can come. I'm sorry. I'm joking. This shit is depressing, guys.
Isn't it?
I think the game itself kind of ended up around where I thought it was going to be, in the sense of one score game. We were right there in position, kind of driving in there at the end. Then you have that very awkward last play that looked like PI, also looked like Taylor just put a little too much on it, and then John Bates just couldn't get under the ball, and it gets picked off there at the end. But it looked like we were in good position, which is something that I've always said about this team, especially when we're on that win streak, is that we're always one pass, one interception, just one play away from victory. Has been the recipe for success. I mean, that's the thing, is you want the ball at the end of the game, right? To drive out in there. But I think what this game did more than anything were highlight the biggest critical areas of need for the team, I think, in the sense of, me and you have talked about this on it. Like, if I'm looking overall at this team, you look at that record, you say it's a disappointment. You look at where the rankings are, you say it's a disappointment. But then you look and see all the injuries, you look at all the COVID designations, you look at everything going into this season, and you also look at the strength of schedule compared to last year.
Right.
I still think that even though it doesn't feel like it at certain times, especially what was happening in the front office and up above, we are kind of in a better position than we were coming out of last year. Like, I'm not that low overall in the direction of the team or the organization as a whole. I still think there are some pieces that we can build on, but there's still some glaring needs, right? You can still see at linebacker, as much as you can see Cole Holcomb doing everything he possibly could to will everything from that linebacker position. You can also look that they were playing David Mayo a lot more than they were playing Jamin Davis.
Yep.
Linebackers a need.
And you have to talk, we're talking about positions in need. This all comes back to the quarterback position at the end of the day, no? I think we went coming in and we were talking about, if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. We talked about Taylor Heineke. I know that there was a hype train. Ryan Fitzpatrick obviously didn't play, but do you think the season's that different with him? Maybe not. We'll never know.
I honestly don't know. And I think that's the thing. It's something I brought up when we've done the preview shows. What does this team look like with a quarterback with an arm? I don't think we know. Like
do you really think it's that different of a season?
But I'm asking. But I'm saying. But Matt, when's the last time?
Dude, what?
Hold on, whoa, Matt. When's the last time this team started a quarterback that you could actually say had the tools necessary to even to be an average quarterback from a tool standpoint? Taylor's not average as far as his tool set.
No, he's
below average, right? He's got better
average.
Moxie than most guys and maybe intangibles than most guys in the league. But as far as the skill set, very low. The last time you can say in the last 2 years has really been fucking Ryan Fitzpatrick for the one game. Beyond that, you got the course of Alex Smith back there. You had any other quarterback that you try out. I honestly have no idea what this team looks like if you have that quarterback.
But the thing is, so we had Kirk Cousins for a little bit, and whatever your feelings are, he puts up a number of great stats. He sometimes has really, really good games. He just couldn't do it in the clutch. I think the best quarterback we've had in like 20 years or something like that would be RG3 his rookie season with Kyle Shanahan as the offensive coordinator. I felt like we could beat anybody that season.
But
right?
I'm saying
And
those
defense
two
is
guys,
nearly as good as it is now.
but
Cousins
those
would qualify as a good
he would.
quarterback.
But those two guys, when they last started for this franchise, that team looks drastically different than the team it looks like right now.
Absolutely.
But going off that, I mean, would you put Ryan Fitzpatrick in that category?
No, I wouldn't.
No, I'm not. Ryan Fitzpatrick is one of those guys where if I'm honestly looking at it, if you can have a person actually throw the football where Terry McLaurin needs to have the football thrown, I don't know what that looks like. Like that's the thing, is that anytime that Terry McLaurin has caught one of his contested balls, you see him coming down in all sort of awkward ways because of the ball placement. He just tracks shit down better than most. But you see the defender always has a shot at the ball because it's never ahead. It's never Terry catching the ball in stride. He's got to do everything in his power to go catch that football, which is what you even saw this week. Like there was the word that came out as far as like, why don't they use Terry McLaurin in a lot of other route sets? Like, why don't we see him in slants? Why don't we see him doing hitches? Why don't we see him doing all these things? And we're kind of concerned about his injury history. Yeah, no shit. Because every time he goes to fucking catch the football, he's got to fight for the shit.
Sure. Okay. But I'm speaking more on a macro level, on a wins above replacement, Fitzpatrick to Taylor Heineke. I don't see it being like that big of a difference.
I honestly don't know. Because I think that what we were most excited about
remains the biggest question. It's not like,
of course,
Fitzpatrick's not coming back next year, right?
I mean, I don't know with this team. Because I mean, in all honesty, like I still think that what you're going to end up doing, and me and Ahmed are going to do these preview shows for what it is that we think the organization should do. Because I've got some ideas, but I mean, I kind of put myself right back in the situation I felt last year, which is that if you don't have the guy, you got to find the next best thing. I thought a Matt Stafford was a perfect set for what it is that we were trying to do. Ryan Fitzpatrick, kind of the poor man's version of that in what it is we got. The different kind of skill sets, but I'm saying, you understand what I'm saying. I'm not putting Fitzpatrick on the staff.
So if I could, here's why I think it would be significantly different with a really good quarterback. I know, Matt, you laugh, but the thing is, this defense is really good at rushing the passer, right? And so if you're put in positions with leads late in the game, they can do what they do best. And I think you see a different defense as a result of that. Everything is connected in that respect, right? Like, we weren't that good defensively, but we also couldn't just keep up on offense in a lot of games. We did have the hardest strength of schedule in the league. It was number one. It is number one based on wins right now. We played the hardest schedule, and we've come away with one less win than last season. And we've beaten quarterbacks like Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Cam Newton, like with a
Cam
proper
Newton,
quarterback.
Cam Newton that list
at the time. No, hold on. With the context of it, it was a good win. On the road, his homecoming, etc. It matters. But Tom Brady, you can't argue with that. Russell Wilson can't argue with that. Like,
you can argue with Russ a little bit this year.
A little bit, but it's still Russ at the end of the day. If you have a better quarterback, I think things change.
The biggest glaring thing that I saw in this last game, which speaks to me as far as a microcosm of the whole season, is I don't think Scott Turner's the guy. The thing is that what we're running on offense, and I don't know if it's just the Scott Turner thing, if he's afraid of what Taylor can't do physically, whatever it is, the game flow has been absolute dog shit. The way that you saw plays being called in the first half of this game compared to the second half of the game, you would have thought there was just amnesia occurred amongst the entire coaching staff, because it was like, hold on, what are we doing now? Why? Like, I keep talking about running it on first down. I think in the first half, there was only one drive that we started that we didn't run on first down. In the second half, it was only one drive that we started where we didn't throw on fucking first down. And it's like, you can't do, you're not
making adjustments.
No, it's not. What you're doing is you're not, but you're not
adjustments
playing.
Made. We played much worse in the second half.
You're not playing to Taylor's strengths, right? Which is limit the amount of times he's got to throw the ball, run the ball primarily, and do it that way. If you're not doing that, I don't know where you're going to get from it, because he's a streaky quarterback.
Yeah. So overall,
and going from that, I mean, you're playing against a team in Nick Sirianni and his Eagles, whereas like, dude, Jalen Hurts was out the door after week 3, right? I mean, people were writing him off, and they totally adapted their offense, and I would say more than a serviceable year, and kind of, I guess one of the surprising teams of the year. So it's a good example of what to do with adapting your game plan to your roster.
Well, Kadena, I wonder if that's a little bit of you know how sometimes like coaches have this stubbornness on like, oh, we have to trust the system, and like they decided that was going to be the system, and then when they sort of don't see it work, they're just like, we just gotta keep at it, right? Like, and I can see the benefit of that sometimes, but it may just come literally from the stuff. I mean, in a long term, like in the NBA, for example, 82 games, I can see somebody being like, hey, you know what, we're gonna have a few games where it's not working, but we just gotta trust it, get better at it, we'll peak at the end, that's fine. But it doesn't sound like it's more of that. It just sounds like they're just not even, it's like not listening. You're just not watching.
If you're Greg Popovich, okay. If you're Scott Turner with no fucking resume, I'm sorry, sir. Go back to the drawing board. He doesn't have a resume. Like, that's the thing, is like, as much as we wanted to say, and when we looked at Scott Turner hiring, it was, all right, in Ron we trust, right? But he doesn't have anything in his resume that makes you think that he's like, there's no Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, Cliff Kingsbury. Oh shit, this is a fun new guy trying a bunch of new shit. No, it's, hey, I've got an offense that I think is tried and true. It never ended with an offense above 25th or whatever in ranking. But I'm just going to roll with it. You saw at certain points in the season, he kind of let off of that, which is when we were saying it got boring, but boring in a good way. It made us more physical. Run the ball, get more physical. Have Taylor do what he can do physically and running out of the pocket, getting the ball down the field. It's very loosey-goosey, but you're playing with your strengths from an emotional standpoint, right? You can get control of the game if you play that physical style. Right now, the amount of fucking end arounds that we run every fucking goddamn thing, everything.
You see those tight end screens?
It's just stop. Why you got to make things overly complicated, man?
I just realized I recognize the name Scott Turner. He was a offensive analyst at Michigan, so. Yes,
that's what
it wasn't there this year when they finally had a good year. So
that's the resume, baby.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh my God. Yeah, no, actually talking about Scott Turner's resume real quick. The thing I like about Ron is disciplinarian, and we needed a kind of guy like him to take over after the shit show that we always have. He's been good in that respect. He has loyalty to people that it's to a fault. Scott Turner was with him early on in his Carolina days, rejoins him, and now is here in Washington as well. That scares me because Ron is also with Marty Herney, executive vice president of the team. He's loyal to him. And guess what? No matter how you feel about the data analytics and what have you, it's working. It's working for the Chargers, for example. Justin Herbert's getting more opportunities to succeed. You're seeing teams adapt. Marty Herney is not the kind of guy that wants to adapt. In fact, that's why he left Carolina. That was a direct quote from the owner saying, we did not see eye to eye. He does not believe in data like I do, and I want someone that does. But now he's here. And I've seen a lot of responses on Twitter to the question, how would you build a franchise go? We want to be more data-driven, more analytical. That's not what we're going to be getting. So you either need to accept that, or we need to begin thinking about, well, Ron is so loyal to these guys. What do we do? And so again, this will be more of the offseason series. How do you build a franchise? What are the things you look for, et cetera, that K-Dot and I will talk about. But yeah, it's interesting. So I want to talk about the Washington football team more for sure, but you did bring up that Scott Turner was an offensive analyst at Michigan, Matt. And so let's talk about Michigan. We can always pivot back to the Washington football team. There's plenty of time. We got the offseason to talk.
We still got to cover that stadium issue.
Oh, one last thing. Please talk Carl Allen next week.
Yeah, may as well. I mean, what do you have to lose at this point? You traded 5th round pick for him. Let's see what he can do against the Giants. Now on to Michigan. They make the playoff. First time ever. So congratulations to Michigan there. They played Georgia. It doesn't go that well.
It goes poorly.
It goes poorly.
It went poorly.
Okay.
34-11 loss, but all in all, a very successful season considering the expectations, right, Matt?
Absolutely. I mean, a good season. I mean, the best season under Jim Harbaugh. And if you make the checklist of goals you'd have going into the season, I was expecting, we're unranked. I was probably expecting a 7 or 8 win season, probably losing again to Ohio State, probably losing to Penn State, coming 3rd in the division, 4th in division, whatever. And the team was great this year. And we saw a lot of players emerge as great players. Aiden Hutchinson's going to go down as one of the best Michigan players of all time. David Ojabo just declared for the draft today. Whitaker, the guy was living in Scotland, as a high school student. So What a story there. Beat Ohio State, obviously, as I mentioned. We talked about that in the last pod. Go smack Iowa, win our first Big Ten since 2003. And yeah, we lost to Georgia, and it was a tough New Year's Eve. Well, honestly, it probably made it easier that it was such a blowout. Like, quickly saw that the game was not going well. We weren't there. They were bigger, they were faster, they were stronger, they were smarter. We wanted them more.
Like
all
an
of
NFL
it. They're better looking.
Absolutely better version of us on the field.
No,
Their weather is
and
much
the guys
better.
just didn't have it. I mean, they did a good job getting the ball up quickly. Kind of imagining that edge rush from a job when Hutchinson did not have a big game. And then Cade as our quarterback just didn't really have it. But you know what happens? I feel like there's a team every year that gets to the gets to the playoff and gets blown out, and whatever. You got to deal with it, take it on the chin, and hopefully build next year. And we're losing some talent, but I think we'll still be very good next year. And I expect us to make another run for the playoff next year.
The big question I had, though, was The Athletic came out today. I don't know if you saw it, and they said that Jim Harbaugh may return to the NFL. Do you have any concerns with that? Have you heard that over and over, and you're like, actually, he'll be fine? Or because that's a big deal.
Shot-town.
What?
Shot.
No, I mean, these are literally rumored every single year. So I don't know. I don't know.
But this year they did so well.
Well, they're still rumored every year. I mean, everyone knows Harbaugh's a good coach, right? I mean, he had NFL offers, I'm sure, after each year. I mean, he had great success in the NFL. So they've been rumored every year. If he goes, he goes. But,
he could always just follow Urban steps and just like retire, then go into NFL, then get disgraced. And then live life. And
Jim did go to the NFL. Jim did go to the NFL and was a little bit better than Urban. Just a little bit.
He was better. So. It ended a little rough, but he started it.
Yeah, I mean, I think his last season he won 8-8 or something like that. So I mean,
he's a good coach. He's a good coach.
So I mean, if you were to go, obviously that would be unfortunate. I don't know what we would do. I love all of our assistants are young.
Go with that, right.
But
somebody's getting a promotion.
Yeah, or we go after Luke Fickell or something. I don't know.
Okay.
So I mean, I don't think we'd be totally dead in the water. I think our program's in a good spot. We have probably our most talented team in a while. Our offense should be really nice next year.
So objectively speaking, and I don't mean to ask this, is like a troll type thing. What happened against Georgia, right? Like there were a lot of expectations. Michigan's got a really good team. There's Hassan Haskins, for example, Aiden Hutchinson, you mentioned. Cade McNamara is having a really good year. What the heck happened against Georgia?
It's basically the polar opposite of the Ohio State game that, I expected Georgia's defensive line to push in our offensive line. We have a good offensive line, but I thought we'd, that's still a dominant front seven on their part. I thought our front seven would be a lot stronger than theirs, and they just weren't, to be honest. That would say that was really the biggest difference is, I'm not surprised that we didn't score and move the ball that well, but I am surprised at how easily they moved on us. Like they don't have an overly explosive offense. So that would be the biggest thing. We got no pressure on their quarterback. They were doing a good job just doing quick releases, getting the ball on the flat. And they have athletic players out there. I was just surprised at that particular battle that we really hadn't lost all season. No matter like Ohio State has first round talents all in their offensive line, and we dominated that. So I thought we'd be able to control it on the defensive side, and we just couldn't do it. So it sucked. It was one where it's like, okay, I feel like it was one of the things where it's like, all right, let's take a little break. Let's take 3 minutes off, turn it back. Oh, and we throw a pick.
Okay.
It's just like
just never quite turned on.
Yeah, it was never from the first drive. I mean, it was all them. So an unfortunate ending. But something to build off.
Okay. Well, hopefully not quite off of that result, but right. Understood. You had a really good year. You said objectively a better offense or really good offense next season. Do you know some of the recruits that are going to be coming in, or just retaining people?
It's just who are retaining. We're losing Hassan Haskins. We're losing tackles and 2 offensive linemen. But we are getting a grad transfer from UVA, who was All-American this year. So we really just have one hole to fill on the offensive line. Running backs, Hassan Haskins is a beast, but Blake Corum will be there. And then Donovan Edwards was a really good freshman. And then we'll honestly have a quarterback battle between Cade McNamara and JJ McCarthy. So, and not to mention our best wide receiver was out this year with his ACL injury. So wide receiving core should be nice next year.
Okay. Go ahead, Elsie.
No, I mean, it's not about Michigan. Can we get a playoff system that's not handpicked already? This thing of a committee and just choosing 4 teams. It just, man, I don't know. I would have loved to see Michigan like play, like a bunch of playoff games, like a tournament.
Oh, got it. So like more teams, you're saying?
Waste of
Just
time.
more clutch games. Why? Just because
waste
they're
of
still gonna
time.
get there?
Yeah, that's the thing. The playoff is given an illusion that it's so much better than the poll system, and it just ends up the way that we all think it's going to end up.
Yeah. To be honest, this was not the year to really debate the playoff. Like it was
It's
pretty
not.
clear.
God
But
damn.
I think it would be the only reason why I say for expansion is because you would have more meaningful bowl games.
Right.
You would kind of give,
I could see that.
Well, 8 to 12 games and kind of bring back, the allure
Just
of
postseason.
certain bowl games. But I don't know. Then you
Everyone was like opting out of the bowl games. Right?
Well,
That's
that's
my
exactly
thing.
it. Go ahead.
You give more opportunities for these players to skip these goddamn bowl games and get ready for the NFL draft. Because that's the thing. You're adding any games to the college football season, especially I don't think when we go back to what the system used to be, which was the polls, everybody's complaining about how they weren't fair. You'd have some Boise State go undefeated or Oregon to do this and be like, hey, man, we deserve to be in the conversation. And it's Alabama and Georgia like, okay, but you know who we are, right? And it's just like it's one of those things that come down to the end. So it's like it's the illusion of fairness or any given Saturday, right? But it's not.
But here's the thing.
Do you guys think pro players should start opting out of some games?
Wait, what was the question? I
No.
didn't hear because of the mic.
Do you guys think pro players should start opting out of some games?
No.
Why would a impending
Money.
free agent play? Why would they play for the Washington football team?
Money.
What do you mean money?
They're
You get paid.
professionals.
You're a professional.
You're literally
Right.
getting paid to play that game.
If you that's the point. Like you can't
but
hang the
you're still-
education
but,
thing.
but if you go tear your ACL, you're going to lose more than you gained.
Certainly, but you're already getting paid for it. You signed a contract.
Right,
you
for
signed
it.
a
I think
contract,
there's the
that's your
difference
job.
between pro and college.
Said it, and you can take.
But
yeah, don't take that paycheck, and then
I suppose
Right?
if the contract works out that way, then
Yeah,
maybe.
no,
but I don't think it does. I think
you
they've
can
schemed
you,
around
you,
it.
you can have Trent Williams decide I'm not coming back. You can
Oh, just
have
hold out.
you
No,
can
I'm saying-
hold out. You can do that.
yeah,
And Le'Veon Bell in Pittsburgh. And we were all like, yeah, I mean, he wants to sit out. They're going to utilize the fuck out of him. He doesn't like the contract. It is what it is. Sit out, get fined, don't get paid for what it is you're doing. Totally understand. As a professional athlete, you have the opportunity to do that. I do think that it changes just a little bit because you've signed your name on the dotted line and you do have a contract. So if you do catch shit in the public or whatever, I just think it's a little more fair that way. But in college, it is extremely one-sided deal.
Yeah.
And if you've already established who you are going into bowl games, it's just ridiculous.
again, not the debate, but it is the same. It's to the player, it's kind of the same thing. Like you're putting future jeopardies,
I
But
think
it's-
that the contract itself and the act of getting paid to do it changes it dramatically.
Yeah, it also could potentially, depending on the situation, change how you do in terms of your next contract as well. If teams look at that and go, I don't really like that he just quit on the
That's
people.
the same. All those debates already made for college.
For
right?
college,
all
it's
those-
different
all
though
those
because they're
debates are
already
the
not getting
same.
paid.
So
Here's the question I wanted to ask, which was if there were to be expansion, for example, the Matt Corral injury, quarterback for Ole Miss, is probably going to turn some heads. And I think a lot of future quarterbacks, future receiver, what have you, may choose to opt out because of this exact thing. He came out and said he wanted to be there with his brothers, that he wanted to show out for them one last time. And instead he gets hurt pretty badly. We're going to see the extent of the injury, but that could have effects, right? A ripple effect on other people opting out. If you were to expand the playoff, right, to 8 teams, 16 is the absolute highest, and even that's crazy. But let's say you did. Do you think you'd see less opt-outs because you go, okay, well, now we're playing for the championship still, right? We have seen no opt-outs as far as I can recall from the playoff, right?
And
Where you
I
can
would
win it all.
expect that.
I would expect that they want to play for the whole thing. So I think that could
I-
actually reduce the number of opt-outs for those teams involved
Right.
if you increase that.
yeah, I mean, I think there would be less opt-outs, but I think just in general, like people would start caring about the Rose Bowl again. They'd start caring
Yes,
about
exactly.
the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl. I mean, regardless of it's less about the players that are playing. Players do sit out, which makes a lot of sense to do. Like, you're still playing. It still brings back instead of just having really 2 meaningful bowl games. You have 6 or whatever it is. So players might still sit out. I think that's very likely, and that makes a lot of sense to do. But it would at least bring back a little bit more luster to some of these bowl games that have been around for they're kind of the staple of college football. So you would think you'd want to kind of raise their values again, because they've been pretty boring outside of
I think
the
expansion
playoff games.
probably is coming, honestly, because I think it makes a lot of sense just from a viewership standpoint. People are going to watch more. Like, I didn't really care about the other bowl games. I used to when it was just the national championship, and then you had some others like, all right, this is cool. This could be
check them out.
The other one, you check them out. But like now with the playoff the way it is, for whatever reason, I haven't checked out the other ones unless a quarterback, Washington football team could be is playing, and then I'll watch a little bit just to be like, okay, how did that guy play?
I think there's a fundamental thing with me, and I'll admit I'm biased, the community college kid over here. That there is an aspect of fuck the NCAA and their ass with a rusty spoon.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. So like there is a element of I don't give two shits about what's best for college football as much as these. If you're one of these guys and you go talk to your agent or whoever it is you got to talk to, and they say, hey, they've got enough tape on you. You're a first round prospect. All right, cool. I ain't playing no more. Like there, right. that needs to be the line. The only thing I want to expand as far as any college football is more about the HBCUs after seeing what Dion has been doing with Jackson State. But beyond that, I don't give two shits about Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, any of them using the talent in the way that they use.
I was just looking up to be precise. And you know what really brings it down? Like I really don't want to watch it and does not bring it elevated to the status of a good game when you call it the fucking San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl.
It's
or
absurd.
Like, are you
Duke's
fucking
Mayo
kidding
Bowl.
me? Like, yeah,
they're pouring mayo on people now.
That's sports and everything, right? I mean, sponsorships
no, but
everywhere.
Because it's never like
that was 20
imagine
words.
The Champions League finals being called like the Taco Bell KFC Champion League finals. Like, that would be insane.
They would never do that.
Who the fuck would do that? Exactly. That's my point, because it's an actually
do you guys
important
think,
game.
Do you guys think there will ever be like I'm surprised. I mean, I'm surprised not talking about more, but how come there's not a developmental league in the NFL?
Because the NFL and the NCAA are in bed with each other. That's why every time there's a rule change, there ends up being that thing, which is what gets me. Anytime you have a USFL and XFL pop up, my thought process has always been, bingo, be the development league. Pay these guys a couple $100,000 so they can help their families out. And then we can still put shit on tape so that an NFL team could go do it. But every single one of those organizations to pop up want to kind of work with the league and not step on any toes, which always pisses me off, which is why when Vince McMahon did the XFL thing, it was there was some rumbling that this is going to be an alternative to these athletes coming out of high school that want to get paid for their athletics and their athleticism. That to me needs to be what happens if the NCAA is not outright paying these guys a significant amount of money.
But I do think they are going to start outright paying these guys, because the opt-outs are an issue and hurt their product, right? So I do think that in order to keep these players playing, I think the moment you make a bowl game, they're going to pay some money for it. I think that's what's going to end up happening. Yeah, I think
exactly
that's what's going to happen, right? They don't want people to opt out.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, now with NLTs, like I think like a player in Michigan is going to make, they'll make $100,000.
Yeah, they will. But I think on top of that, right? Because if they're not getting an additional incentive, right? If they're getting paid for their likeness and image, whatever have you, that's fine. But they can still opt out of the bowl game. If they can get additional money for playing the bowl game, there's at least a conversation.
Yep.
And so I think that's what's going to end up happening is they're going to start paying the players for their bowl game participation. ESPN's made all of these. I mean, these are absurd. We have like 50 bowl games now.
The bowl games are insane.
Yeah, it's so watered down. It used to be like 10 or 12, and it was like, this is awesome.
You got to read the names of these, man. The Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl.
No way. Is there actually a Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl? That could be the title of this episode. Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl.
Yeah, it was Utah State versus Oregon State. Also, I'm so Argentinian that when you said you're gonna get paid for like playing this game, I'm already thinking the way around it. So like, how much do I gotta play? If I go in for one play, like, am I good? Am I getting my check? I'm already thinking.
Those are actually the conversations that are gonna have to happen.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, it's gonna get messy. It's gonna get extremely messy. But that's that's why I like when what was it? Travis Hunter decided he was going to go to Jackson State with Dion, right? And you hear like Barstool Sports is all around it, and there's he's already got a podcast ready the Barstool's ready to pay him. Like that shit excites me. I'm sick. And I honestly think there's a certain portion of the sports audience that have checked out of college football as a whole. And it's not because of the way the bowls are. It's not because of the way the playoff is. It's literally just they don't like watching what it is that college football is, which is that everybody just kind of understands and knows. I think that if you're looking at like us and who it is we hang around.
The numbers would say otherwise. Like the numbers are still doing
the numbers
really well.
are still the numbers because it's a sport but I'm saying the way that it used to be, at least when we were coming up, like when USC was playing Texas, or when you had like the game that everybody knew that they were tuning in for, it doesn't feel the same way that it used to unless you're in certain bubbles of pockets of society. I just don't think that it's as universally acclaimed as it used to be.
I think you've just moved out of that bubble. To be honest, I think as you've gotten older and moved further away from college, I think it is still massive. You look at the game viewerships; they're high across the board. Even the bowl games that we talked about that not watching, like bowl games were still well watched this year, and they're still pulling in good numbers, even though they're not.
People are indoors and stuff
all
like that.
averages aren't as high.
Right.
But
It's the time of the year too.
Yeah.
Like we were watching the Ohio State game. I was like, what the fuck else are we going to do? Like it was just nothing else.
There's no options right now.
There will always be a part of me that does not, I don't love seeing the NFL sometimes. The only way I get around it is these guys are getting paid a healthy amount of money. If we start looking at the percentage of the players getting paid compared to the owners, all right, we might have some issues, but there's always something that's going to be wrong with me if looking at whether it's the Alabama fan that hated the idea of a segregated football team until the blacks would run fast and the white guys could, and now they're rooting for them, or the liberal college elite that fucking went to Wisconsin or Michigan and like, I just like that these guys get to play, and they when it's like, we just want to watch the Negroes run on the football field. Like it's just a thing that bothers me.
That isn't college alone though, Kadeem. So like,
it is. Hold on. What do you mean?
You're not getting paid in college.
I only root for black people when they're playing sports. That is not college alone.
No. I'm saying that the idea of watching these guys put their bodies on the line for no fucking money,
right?
And having a root, being on the sidelines cheering these motherfuckers on as they could be ruining their careers, to me is not okay. And I'm never gonna find it and look at it and be like, hey, I'm cool with this. And I think that there are more people than you might want to give credit for that believe it the same way that I do. And it's become harder and harder to swallow as time goes on, especially when you have things like the HBCUs where we're at least looking at and be like, hey, maybe if all the best athletes in fucking Florida went to the HBCU schools, which we at least know the money will be kept in our community, that's something that we can look at and say, all right, well, we can cheer for and root for. There are a lot more of those conversations happening nowadays, and I think other people are giving it credit for.
It's probably because of what it's called, NIL, right? Which is it NIL? Yeah. So NIL will probably change that. And the same thing you said, it was Travis Hunter. Is that his name?
Hunter,
right?
Yeah.
Right. So now he can go to Jackson State as a result, right? Because now he's got some guaranteed income to go, okay, cool. And I'm with Dion. Like that movement, I think, is occurring now. So it's going to be interesting seeing how this goes moving forward. But I think that change is already occurring, which is really cool. But the NCAA still does need to step in. And when it comes to these bowl games in particular, they do need to start paying these players, or else you're going to see any number of opt-outs. And something we already feel is watered down. And Matt brings up a really good point. I think we have just with age moved out of that bubble because the viewership numbers are good. Things still need to change. They still absolutely need to change within the NCAA.
Yeah. I mean, this was the first year of NIL, so we'll see where it goes. I mean, we saw the deals being thrown out. They were for big schools, they were huge, but we'll see where it goes from there.
Yes, we will.
The heck is the NIL?
NIL is, what does it stand for?
Name, image, and likeness. But
it
essentially allows, so the NCAA, well, I shouldn't say the NCAA is not paying at all, but really the schools are still not paying players, but you can go get money from any sort of external source you want, right? So previously it was really fucked up that you couldn't go get any money for like signing autographs or taking advertising or whatever, but now you can go get endorsed by Jordan, by Nike, by a local car dealership, or some booster who's just like, I have $10 million. Here's to every offensive and defensive lineman. Here's $1 million, stuff like that. So it's pretty unregulated right now. So some people did have some like wild, like Bryce Young, I think pulled in like 1.5 million or something like that.
Yeah, and he'll only get paid
Okay.
more once he gets to the NFL as well. So yeah,
All right.
Louis is a bit
Okay.
undersized. Matt, final question before we move on to LC's rugby rule of the day. Does it matter to you who wins the national championship, knowing that Georgia beat? It's not like one of those things where like, oh, Georgia beat us, so now they better win, or like fuck Georgia, Alabama. It's completely independent, right?
I'm not even going to watch college sports. Are stupid.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Gave up. On it.
Different reasons, but they arrived at the same conclusion.
I don't care how you got there. As long as you're here, welcome
Right.
to the club, Matt.
If you're throwing a rock, I'm with you. I don't
Just
care.
take that goddamn hat off. No, I'm checking.
Yeah, he just smacked. All right. Well, that's going to conclude Michigan football and really more just the college football landscape talk and stuff like that.
That's it.
So now, as we continue to transition into being a bit more of a rugby podcast, because people really want that content and we appreciate it. LC's rugby rule of the day starts right now.
Hey, we are a month and a day away from the beginning of the season, the MLR. So if you need to see some more tackles and you're out of football by then, you get rugby to start right on time. I was thinking today a rule we haven't really looked at, and it's quite unique in rugby. It's called the line out, which if you watch soccer, it is like the throw-in. So the ball has to be restarted from the side of the field. Let me compare it to other sports, like in basketball, like an inbound in the ball, right? You get the ball from the outside, you got to pass it to somebody in. In rugby, there's actually a pretty unique structure that happens. And if you've never seen this, probably should YouTube it to understand a little bit of what I'm talking about. But what happens is the two teams actually form in the line, right? So each team in one line, and then a player from the team that will have possession throws the ball in the middle into the air. So the idea is that it's a contested restart. It's not like a throw-in in soccer. It's not like an inbound in basketball where you really can't pass it just to your guy, but instead you're supposed to throw it to sort of the middle of the two formations, and then players will contest for the ball in the air. Now, the cool thing, and you will have seen this if you watch any rugby game, is that two players from one team will pick another player up, and so that they can get the ball basically a person and a half in the air, which for these guys is something like, I don't know, fucking 10 feet and a half, because they're all huge. So you'll get, two players usually just, not thrown in the air. You have to maintain and grab them because you don't want to get hurt in the air. And they'll fight for the ball in the air. They can tap it towards their side. They can try to catch it. They cannot grab each other. So once you're in the air, you can't just, hold the other guy's arm and prevent him from getting the ball, but you can contest for it. And then depending on what happens with the ball, the lineout continues. But it is cool that it's contested, and the team that will throw the ball decides how many players will go into the lineout. So you can say, hey, I'm just sending 3. And you have a really thin lineout that's just 3 guys, and you just go at it. Or you can have, just 10 players in there, or nine players in there, and just have the whole, a whole pack in there and just make it really confusing. Players, after they line up, they can move around and change positions. They can't move out of the lineout, but they can move and change positions within the lineout. Okay, so back and forth. And then something that some teams will do as a sort of a trick play is, instead of throwing the ball high and up in the air for somebody to contest it, they'll throw it quick, short, and low. So the first guy on the row knows what's going on, catches the ball, and just goes with it, and just runs with it. Does that make any sense without any images?
I think it made some sense, and then I
So
got
the
lost
end.
for half a moment.
Like the way I was like,
Oh,
it was
okay.
like it felt like a jump ball with friends, right?
Oh
It felt
yeah,
like
that's a great way to put it.
so
love
Also
it.
known as the jump ball with friends.
I was just imagining like
I
Nikola
love that.
Jokic like throwing someone up in the air.
Basically.
So I had
But holding him.
No,
by
holding
the
him,
shorts.
right. So they're not tossing him, but holding him.
And we
I-
have
yeah,
to make
so-
sure they're wearing a trench coat.
So
the shortest shorts ever. So you're really grabbing them basically by the balls.
the question I had, LC, was, so for the line out, the team that's throwing the ball back in gets to choose the number of players involved, right?
Yeah.
So that means if I choose 5 players, then the other team also gets 5 players, and they each can use exactly 5.
Correct.
Okay, so I guess the strategic, or I guess the strategy there would be, okay, we've tried these many plays, or we know we have the advantage with these many players. The other team doesn't necessarily know that, so we're just going to go ahead and put 4 on.
The strategy has a little bit to do with your own strengths, obviously. Like there are teams that, and we're not going to go into it because it's really complicated today, but there are teams that are really good at what's called a maul, which is kind of like a live scrum. You know, when we talk about the scrum, but it's not a restart. It actually just sort of develops in the middle of the game, and the two teams sort of push each other for space. And so when you know you're really good at that, you're going to put, a good amount of players there, so you create a big maul and then you can push. Some teams know that they want to get the ball out, and so they try to just make a clean pass it back, and just play with their backs. And then it's a set play essentially. So how many players you put, whatever, they have calls for sending the ball to the back of the lineup, to the middle of the lineup, to the front. Like it's essentially a set play because it is contested. So if your rival actually knows what's going on, they may steal the ball from you.
And I guess the reason it is contested is because you have to throw it in a line, right? A
Correct.
horizontal
So
line. So it can't go slightly to the right, slightly to the left, because otherwise it's basically just a soccer throw and just get open and that's it.
Exactly. Okay. I mean, obviously there's a referee criteria there. Like nobody can throw it at the exact middle. And usually players will throw it like with a slight lean towards their side. Or what they'll do actually is this is such a detail to watch, but what they'll do is they have the two lineouts, and the player who's going to throw the ball will sort of move laterally towards their side. So they're actually throwing it straight, but it's not going. And what you'll see is the camera is usually right behind the guy who's throwing the ball, and you'll see the linesman literally like tapping the guy in the back, being like, move toward the center, like literally like trying to push him toward the center because the guy's trying to cheat.
Does Old Glory do this? Do we do this?
Literally every team that plays rugby will do it. Like it doesn't matter. It's just it's a thing you do
across the board. Okay.
It's like in soccer, if you're standing on the wall on a free kick and you sort of take tippy tap toe, like you just inch it, it's just what you do.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's a line out. Old Glory, do we like vary the number of people we call in, or are we just so dominant with like 6 people, for example?
I honestly have no idea. I don't know that detail. But
I was testing the knowledge early. That's fine.
What's the season preview for Old Glory?
I've seen a lot of re-signs on. So I've seen a lot of re-signs on Instagram to get a couple of new players. But I think that the roster should be pretty much settled for. It's only a month. There's also going to be.
Quit asking questions, Matt. Quit asking.
I don't know, Elsie.
No, but I have seen it's a lot of re-signs as opposed to like new players. Is it 1 or 2 expansion teams coming in?
We don't know who they are. We know we've retained them.
Yeah,
right.
I can look at that.
How about that?
There will be also at the same time. I'm sure they looked at it, but there will be like an international semi-important rugby tournament happening at the same time at the start of the season. Like literally starts that weekend too. It's called the Six Nations. So there'll be if you like rugby, there'll be a little bit of competition for what to watch. But yeah, it should be good to see from the beginning how the season starts. I know last year was not great.
Month and a day, you said?
Month and day, the 5th, I think.
Okay, February 5th, Old Glory, baby. Rugby season right around the corner, because Lord knows we don't need any more of the Washington football team. Quickly wait, are we good with rugby talk? Can we move on to the State of the Union?
Danny Thomas is back.
I didn't even hear that. What'd you say?
Danny Thomas, Old Glory. He's coming back. We re-signed him.
Dude, Danny Thomas.
He literally looked it up right now. It's like
Danny Thomas is a legend.
It's really fucking hard. There's so many things called Old Glory.
I know.
Wait, we didn't talk about FedEx Field. You think it's going to cause them to relocate?
Well, I was going to get to that in the State of the Union. That's why I was asking if we were done, because it is the DC Sports Wraparound Coverage segment. Why don't we begin with FedEx Field. Matt, go ahead. What you want to talk about there?
They're moving FedEx now.
They're moving FedEx. Where are they moving?
This was the
FedEx?
final straw. New stadium coming. What do you guys
Yeah,
think?
in 2026. Still like 4
Is that
more
what
years.
is that what the plan is?
Oh yeah.
In 2027, technically.
Yeah.
The
that
winning line.
sucks.
Oh yeah. No, they're not
Wait,
moving.
you
FedEx
mean like
inside,
the
the
team is moving?
insides of FedEx Field are moving.
What's
But
going to be
FedEx
in
Field
worse,
itself is not moving.
what's going to be in worse shape at the end of its tenure? RFK or FedEx?
FedEx currently looks worse.
Let's be honest. Like it's definitely RFK, but RFK at least has charm to it, right? So like there's a certain element of charm that you can have in a shitty stadium that you just don't have in FedEx. It's shitty and then commercialized.
We have some nice memories at RFK.
Yeah, there's no real great memories at FedEx. I mean, you could find some, I guess, but there's not a lot of them.
What is the best thing we've ever done at FedEx Field?
Left.
2012?
2012
RG3,
RG3? Maybe a concert. I don't know. That's probably competing with it.
I think the Rolling Stones concert destroyed the field that they did not work on before the season started. I remember that.
Yeah,
that was rough.
That's lovely.
There were fucking divots where they put the stage in, and motherfuckers were just tripping over it. It was just bad. But I mean, you guys, I'm sure, have seen Jalen Hurts' letter today.
Yeah.
To the league and the Washington football team, which, look, fuck the Eagles, fuck Jalen Hurts just on principle. Beautiful move, sir.
Beautiful move.
It's just gorgeous.
I didn't read it.
I didn't read it. I know you wrote a letter, but they got to be getting sued here, right?
Like he writes a letter. He says, "I just want to make sure, blah blah blah. I just want to make sure that the NFL and the Washington football team are taking the proper precautionary steps to ensure that the fans and the players are as safe as they possibly." I'm like, Jalen, bravo, sir.
I know.
It's
It's the letter fans have wanted to write for so long. Like, what are we doing about this franchise? Is basically what he asked after beating us. So he leaves Landover, Maryland, leaves FedEx Field with a W, and then goes, "Hey, what are we doing about that stupid fucking franchise over there?" Like that. What are we doing?
Maybe without knowing it, it's just going to cause like a massive just U-turn for the franchise. And like Dan Schneider finally looks in the mirror and says, "This is it. You know, we're an embarrassment."
Dude, there are guns pointed at Snyder in every fucking direction. We got Congress looking at the investigation.
This is it, guys.
It's almost the opposite of Stockholm syndrome, right? It's like the opposite of battered wife syndrome. Like it's not. We're looking for the out. There's no that we're just like, oh, this is gonna be it. This is gonna be the thing that does it. Oh, God damn it!
Every single time a WAPO article
on the
comes
list.
out, is this it? Is this possibly it?
But I mean, that's the thing. You have the fans fall out. The football team then goes on record and says, "We made sure that they were all given given the option of proper medical care." Everyone on video gets seen, get the fuck off the field, get back in there, and they're pushing guys back up there. It's like, there's no good way of looking at this. This is just bad. It's a long list of other bad shit that happens. FedEx Field needs to burn to the ground.
Can't wait. Can't wait. That'll probably be the best moment in its history as well. I can't.
That'll be the most attended. It'll be the most attended FedEx event.
We'll be there. I'll be tailgating that event. Like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine if they sold tickets to that?
Closure.
I would walk up that hill one more time at Morgan Boulevard Station. No problem. I'd crawl if I needed to. I'd do anything just to be there when that stadium is Gonzo. Finally, imagine pushing the team. Imagine letting the dynamite explode. You're the guy.
If they let me do the plunger, I can be inside the stadium to make it happen. I'll sacrifice myself. Like I'm perfectly cool with this. Like if they just said, "Hey, you get to," the only way it happens is Canadian. You got to be on the 50-yard line. You got to pull down a plunger. I'm like, sign me the fuck out. Guys, honestly, remember me.
I would go on the 40-yard line so that I could go down with Joe Theismann, Alex Smith, everybody on that illustrious 40-yard line. Absolutely absurd. I would love to do maybe a no hate debate, although there'd be full of hate, on worst stadium history. Just you pick the place and you figure out which stadium had the worst fucking memories in it.
Roman Coliseum's got to be up there. There's a lot of death.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good point. Within American sports. How about that? You know,
but just Washington football team's a shit show. And hey, we've got fans that are about to sue us. Name change, bitches. It's just so
hey, speaking of change, though, they're changing the team name February 2nd, supposedly. It will not be Wolves.
Did you hear it got leaked today?
Well, they've been
we
leaking
don't
all
know.
sorts of shit. What's the name you heard, Matt? Everyone's hearing different names.
I heard the Admirals because the Washington Admirals was being redirected to the team website.
Yeah, they found out that like the URL was about in Georgia or something like that, and some fan had
I can literally do that.
Same.
You can do a redirect.
The
I can win a
webmaster-
website.
The webmaster for it was a Quidditch team or some shit. Like this is just the bounds of
It
stupidity.
could
Oh
be.
my God.
It could be.
That
It could also be
sentence.
Commanders. It could be any number of things. It won't be the Wolves or Red Wolves though.
Yeah, Jason Wright already said that. The only thing that I've seen absolutely confirmed is, because I did it myself, because I'm just a jackass, is it in the video where they're opening up the box for Ron Rivera? If you pause it, you can see the reflection of the helmet in the glass.
It's like the
They did
5 minute
not
mark.
clean it out.
People, Twitter police are out and about, the detectives.
So we know there's a W.
I don't give a shit. I'm just gonna say it right now. I don't care what the name is. I just want the team to win. I don't care. They could call us whatever, the Christmas trees. I really don't care. So long as the team wins. I want us to consistently compete for a Super Bowl and find that franchise quarterback that I was delusioned into thinking Taylor Heineke was. He'll be a great backup, but we need a new guy, whether it's the draft, whether it's free agency. We'll figure it out.
You know it's bad when
I'll
Alex
agree with
just
that.
gives up on you, man.
But I'll be completely honest. Like, you're right. Like, really, you're right. But I need a uniform I can at least like.
Sure,
True.
it'd be nice to like it, but if I
I
hate
just-
it, I'm not going anywhere. Like I just
Wait,
need
are they
this team.
changing the uniform too?
It's slight. It's
Slight.
a slight change to it.
I'm just
Not
saying,
the
if we pop
colors.
up in like the Wizards rebrand colors,
Oh, yeah.
like I might, this might be enough for me to say, hey, this is not the team I know. Just
Wait, you're talking
roll.
about the teal Wizards?
We do the teal
Oh,
Wizards
yeah,
with like
Pistons had a teal phase. Late 90s, early 2000s. That was a big,
Wait, are
big
they-
time in
Nothing's
teal in
worse.
sports.
Toronto
they-
Raptors went too far with the way that they just rode a wave in the 90s.
I
Jurassic Park
figured the
wave.
colors
Purple
were
and
set
red?
in stone.
Huh?
They more or less are. I don't think there's going to be much change to the colors.
No, I think they're
Okay.
keeping the burgundy and gold. It'll end up being the Admirals, Commanders, or something along
Something
those
like
lines.
that. It'll be one
Red
of those.
Tails, maybe, but I doubt it at this point. And any one of those names, while they don't excite me, are fine. Because there's never going to be a situation where, look, I don't give a fuck about the people that like. I know that NFC East fans of opposing teams are going to give a shit regardless. So it is what it is. And that's the only thing I got to prepare myself for.
Yeah. The most annoying thing about this, though, is Cleveland changed to the Guardians real quick. It's taking us 2 years and everyone's going to be pissed off no matter what it is.
Oh yeah.
That's just the truth of it. They took 2 years to do this and I guess take their time, figure out the copyright, stuff like that. But this isn't going to go well. I think we can all predict by
no.
February 2nd, it's not going to go
Have
well.
y'all been to any Washington games in the last 2-3 years?
At the stadium?
Yeah.
No.
I'm the only one that I will say this, and it kind of surprised me. The fans that are there,
No,
Not a
they're
lot.
great.
hold on, before you, sure, they love saying Redskin.
Oh,
They
yeah. That's also true.
love saying Red. Like they are obsessed.
Do I
They
have to bleep
refuse to
that
say
out?
Washington. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The historical context. I don't know. Maybe it works. Kind of like saying the N word in a quote. You could say it if it's a quote to somebody
Right.
else. Like it's just and I don't want to say R word because he gives another whatever. The
I got
the old team. They love saying it. When you hear the Washington fans in the stadium, they're singing the old fight song. They're very much, a lot of them are of the ilk. We don't give a fuck. It's still that team. And it's like,
Interesting.
Oh, K-Dot, we had a couple touchdowns. Did they play the fight song? Because if they did, then the team is as complicit, right?
no,
Because we
there's
those are the only words
fight.
we have.
There's no fight song. Like
Okay,
when
they
we-
did. They did.
No,
not
it's the
play those.
band that you don't know where they're at in the stadium because they just like put them on the second
Oh,
level
right.
of the bowl, like
Oh my God.
off
This
by the
franchise.
side. It's like it used to be the marching band used to be like in the center area that everyone could see when we scored a touchdown. They'd be playing.
Okay.
They're like hidden underneath a FedEx tarp. You hear noises happening. You can't quite tell. It's like, are they playing go-go? And it's just it's
The
weird.
more I hear about this stuff, the more absurd our franchise is. Let's move on. We'll have plenty of time to talk about the Washington football team. Let's talk about the Wizards. Let's talk about the Washington Wizards. 7th seed right now. Not bad. Oh, speaking of,
Staying afloat.
there were too many dollar bets to track. I paid Matt a $1 for all of 2021.
I think you owed me too.
Slate is white clean. No, you owed me a couple as well. You thought the Rose Bowl never happened on New Year's Day, and there was one other in that same episode that you owed me $1 for. I'll dollar bet you on that.
Wait, hang on.
As we start clean.
As the bookie,
Right.
I'll dollar bet you I did the.
I bet you the $1.
All right.
I
Let's
take
not argue
that
this
bet.
because I'm not gonna argue this for $1. But I don't even know what bet you're talking about. The Rose Bowl not being on New Year's Day.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I do
there was
remember that.
one
Of
more.
course you do.
Well, hold on. I'll be the first to know. I know I owe somebody
Kyle
money. at
never
some
watched a
point.
college football game in his life. Just fucking steel trap mind for this goddamn.
Well, I
bet
didn't
about
say
the
I
goddamn
placed
Rose
the
Bowl.
belt. I'm just,
Okay.
I didn't place the
remember
bet.
that.
I just remember
that.
New
I
Year's
remember
Day.
that.
I looked it
Of
up.
course you do. And
looked
yeah,
it
I
up.
wagered $100 too. I remember that. Fuck
That-
off, dude.
You say that. I mean, I remember you telling me you gave me $200 for something that's like Washington doing that.
Dude, what about Fitzpatrick? Dalton had more passing yards than Fitzpatrick.
Right. So
I
that
know
was the
I
one
owe people
negated.
money. I just
Yeah.
don't know what.
Well, I'm officially wiping the slate clean unless you go back
course
to a
you are.
district divided episode and find the $1 bet yourself. Okay.
Great.
I
This is
paid
a
you
sick
your
system.
$1.
Sick
I
podcast.
paid you your $1. We are officially starting over now. All right, cool.
Yeah, I heard MGM's doing that too after a tough weekend. What?
Go ahead. Pull up the old episodes. If it's worth $1, I'll pay you the $1.
It's not. It's not.
It's not. It's not. All right, we're starting over because the Wizards are the 7th seed. I was reminded of the 6th seed bet over the next 3 years. That's white clean too.
That's white clean too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is good
yeah.
for you because I actually think the Wizards look okay.
Yeah, I actually do.
Hey, listen, 2 games in a row we've won. We just beat the Charlotte Hornets. COVID all over the place in the NBA. So
Yeah.
I don't think you can provide the excuse to any team either because everyone's getting hit by this.
Yeah.
Wizards all right though.
Brad,
hey,
Beal got vaccinated.
Brad Beal
Surviving.
finally got vaccinated. Yeah.
So he's gonna be able to play.
Look
You think
at that.
Kyrie's just looking at him just like you?
So
you
disappointed.
weakling. Yeah.
So disappointed.
This is
Who
Bradley.
was it? Ted Cruz that was like Bradley Beal gets it, and then the next day Bradley Beal got vaccinated. He's like, nah, fuck that. Are you kidding me? You
That's
kidding me?
good. I love
Yeah.
when you your advocacy for not vaccinated actually gets people vaccinated. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So how about the Wizards? Kyle Kuzma got him on my fantasy team. He is great. What do you have? 36 and 14 yesterday or something like that. Well, at the time of this recording, it was yesterday. He's been great. Trez is out still with COVID. Denny Avdia has
Yep.
been awesome. I like the team. Next 5 games, we actually we should be able to win 4 of them. Honestly, we're playing the Rockets. We're playing the Magic twice. We're playing the Thunder. And we're playing the Bulls. Oh my God, the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, that's a good
They
team.
look like the Globetrotters out there. I
yeah.
feel like Lonzo Caruso, they're like best friends now, and they're just throwing up oops to each other. It's insane.
That was my sleeper pick team this year.
That's
Yeah,
true. DeRozan
fucking
hit the
go
game
on.
winner on Kispert too. Nice to see Kispert be playing for the Wizards too. I think he's
Yeah.
having himself a half
Just
decent.
give
year.
him minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they started so hot. We knew it wasn't going to last. And then they dove kind of just as quickly, but
He always
hopefully the stabilized version is, good enough to be in there in the playoffs and see if you can get a round in or something.
passes. Yeah. So
6
so-
seed, get that $1.
although I did wipe it clean. You're
Yeah,
welcome,
well,
man.
you could make it again.
Yeah, I could make it again. Would you like that $1 bet? $6
Yeah, so
over the
no one's
next
gonna
3 years.
remember
It's
this
official.
conversation. It
Yeah,
just happened
exactly.
either.
Yeah, I'd still take it.
I have huge aspirations for maintaining the $1 bets as we go. It just, you know what? It adds up. And then I have to look at the random parts of the episode. I was like, where the fuck did I say that? Or where was that said?
We do need to do it in a singular segment.
A $1 bet segment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
gonna-
do that.
I'm gonna-
Let's do
we
that
should just
movie.
hire a producer.
We can keep
I'd love to. Where's
keep
the budget, man?
a Google
I would
sheet.
love to. A Google sheet. Yeah, I can keep the Google sheet at the end too. That actually is probably the most effective. But I do like the idea of a $1 bet segment because it could just be 5 seconds of silence. We're like, all right, guess there was nothing today. And then we just move on to something else. Or it is the opportunity to take money from people. I think that's good.
It's the other podcast that I do. Apparently, I got to pay a co-host $250 on a bet that I made that I don't recall at all.
Wow.
That don't seem
It
right.
sounds like a bet
You-
that I would have absolutely made. I just can't recall it. Like, I said Washington was going to finish in the division higher than Dallas. Sounds like something I would have said coming out of last year.
Absolutely.
I've been scaring episodes because I'm like, $250. I mean, man,
Show me the evidence.
No, they should scurry him up. It's on them to
I don't
find.
want to be that guy. Like if I owe something, I got to pay it.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I feel like they should provide the evidence.
They have to,
and then you would happily
that you owe it.
No, because then he started doing that indignant shit where it was like, all right, well, I mean, I guess I just won't ever bet with you again. I'm like, well, I don't want to stop being an asshole. Like, I just want to know that I actually made the bet.
All right, well, I still think it should fall. Who'd you make it with, Keem?
Keem.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, make Keem find that fucking video. $250 and you're looking? I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Especially because if you didn't make it, you're just watching every ASOS episode ever made, which like
you're just trying to get the
not this one,
up.
not this
no
one.
one wants to do that.
All right.
Go
ahead.
One last thing. It has nothing to do with anything, but I want to say it on the podcast.
Sure. It's part of the State of the Union. Your DC Sports.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This happened like the second week of December. I'm walking in the Target at Tenleytown. I fucked up and I forgot to bring my ticket upstairs to validate. So I was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm gonna pay at the ticket. But then I didn't know that on certain days you don't have to pay. So I'm just being an asshole. So I ended up paying $4. Whatever. I'm walking away from the machine and I hear somebody, K-Dot. Oh, what the fuck?
No,
K-Dot. I'm like, I'm still looking around. Kadeen, K-Dot. And I turn around and it's a guy with his girlfriend. And they run up and they're like, hey, we were just watching Dish Divided.
Holy shit.
I know the guy, I forget his name. He's like, I know Amit from way back, and we were just watching and we loved the episode. I've been meaning to tell this story for the last month, and I just never got around to doing it. I'm sorry. But I remember I said something dumb because I didn't. He was like, dude, just have a great next show. I'm like, you too. Shit. And I walked away.
You ruined it.
I ruined the whole thing.
It. There's probably forums now.
He's only good on camera.
But it was a hell of a moment. It was a hell of a moment.
How good does that
did
feel?
warm. Yeah, it felt amazing.
So Andrew Lally, I needed to give you that moment. Shout out Andrew Lally. He told me he saw you at Tenleytown, and
I thought that was for sure an ASOS flex coming.
And then I see you on ASOS all the time. I've seen the other podcasts.
Now, when I'm in Europe next year, when I'm in Europe a few months, and they're like, hey, there's a small town in France. You just got signs and shit for my arrival. Like, yeah, we'll know that.
All right. Well, that's good. That's the Wizards. And that's kind of celebrity appearance at the Target in Tenleytown. Caps. Alex Ovechkin is just. He's not a human being. He's 36 years old. He's second in the league in goals, third in the league in points. Edmonton Oilers got a couple nice players. I was looking up those lists. They're not as good for some reason. They have the two top point scorers in McDavid, and Matt will tell you the other guy's name. And yeah, there you go. German. I know that much. 26. Know that as well. But yeah, Ovechkin, 36 years old, second in the league in goals with 24. The next guy, 35 or above in terms of the goals, Joe Pavelski for the Dallas Stars, 12 goals. Still pretty good for a 37-year-old, but 24 second. Just one back, and the Caps are in second place right now in the division, although the Carolina Hurricanes are right behind them, but right now playing pretty well. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Yeah. What a season he's having. I don't know. I'm not a DC resident, but like, where does he rank? Is he the best DC athlete of all time?
Yeah, it has to be. I can't think of anybody else better.
I don't know if there's anyone on the football team or way back when NBA, but I mean, Ovi's top 8 all time in the sport and creeping up that list as we go. So I don't know if anyone else ranks there. But,
all-time leader in power play goals too now.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps doing it, and like as you mentioned, he's might be having the best year of his career because if you look at his points, they're comparable with his 24-year-old season, which is crazy to say. But he's doing all this without Nick Backstrom, who's only had a few games back in the season. And I think the other player we got to highlight, who I mentioned as the X factor, Evgeny Kuznetsov, having a great season. If he can stay up there with Backstrom coming in, it's this team's going to go deep. But the other team to watch out for that you can't forget about is these Pittsburgh Penguins. They got Crosby back. Malkin hasn't played yet. They'll be making a run, no doubt. So probably another Caps Pens playoff series, hopefully.
I can't have this go unnoticed. Elsie, you have your hand raised here on Zoom.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk?
You're raising your hand.
Well, you got your new computer, so I wanted to use all the Zoom things.
Thanks. I could see it.
Okay, so I assume you score goals, you get points, but how else does a player get points? Like, what is that stat made of?
Assists.
Assists. Yeah.
That's
so
it?
for every goal, for each goal, there's a goal and up to 2 assists per goal. So
Yeah.
Okay,
You hear
like
the
2
term
players
hockey assist because that'll be the person who gave the ball to the main assister.
to the passer. Okay.
Yeah, to the passer. There you go.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, Ovechkin third in the league in that.
Yeah.
Sammy Ball.
Sammy Baugh, maybe, but like what Ovechkin is doing,
Yeah,
just in
he's
terms
like
of the
an
NHL
all-timer.
landscape too. It's not just in Washington; it's the entire league. I mean, he
Yeah,
could
you're right.
end up being the all-time leading goal scorer.
I think that when Sammy Ball left the league,
Yeah.
he was probably in the esteem of where we're looking at like an Ovechkin right now when he left the league. Now, many years has gone on and passed. It's what it is. I would just always say with the Caps is that Peter Laviolette, did I say his name right?
Yeah.
That to me it was a big. I know I like trends, right? And to me it was always that this team and the way and how veteran this team is need an old head at coach to get these guys over the hump. Todd Reirden was not that dude. It's still one of the worst moves in this franchise ever made was letting Bruce walk. But when you get a guy who's been to the mountaintop and can get these guys to understand from a veteran standpoint, this team, the sky is always the limit, I think, when you have that combination.
Yeah, I just love that. Like we want for the Washington football team, like we want for all our sports teams, the Caps are always in it. They're always competing, and you always feel like you have a chance at a title. Even the year we didn't think we did, we won it. I mean, that was probably the year where we had the lowest expectations for the Washington Capitals. We said, screw a la Michigan, actually, this year, right? Where you guys didn't really have expectations for it, and you get to the semifinal.
Yeah.
The Caps actually ended up winning it that year when we had fewer expectations for them.
Yeah, I feel like since I've moved here, it's always been a talk of like, oh, this is like the window's ending, and like I'm still here 7 or 8 years later, and it's like
Right.
still right up there in the league. So enjoy it, Caps fans. It's not gonna last forever, but maybe will.
And it's an incredible
Ovechkin's
credit to Ovechkin just being like age is not a thing with him, similar to what you see with Tom Brady in the NFL. Age is just a number. It really doesn't seem to matter to Alex Ovechkin and the boys. So thank goodness for that. Georgetown basketball just wanted to say they have had their, COVID issues, and initially they had forfeited a couple games, but instead they got postponed by the Big East, and so now they'll be played in like February or something like that. But no real college basketball updates. There's been COVID going around with Maryland as well. Fuck Maryland, can't stand Maryland.
Michigan sucks.
Maryland.
Oh, dude,
Michigan
did we
sucks.
talk about Mark Turgeon?
We did not. We did not talk about Mark Turgeon, which is at this point old news, but it has to be said. So Matt and I were at a bar together after a soccer game that we played, and Maryland was losing. I can't remember who they were losing to, but Matt basically looks at me and goes, "Do you think Mark Turgeon's on the hot seat at all?" And I literally was like, "No." Like, the Maryland fans love Mark Turgeon. Like, yes, there's some ups and downs, but overall for their program, he's good. The next day, Mark Turgeon, Maryland Terps part ways. Immediate text from Matt Regan. Lol, told you. What did
Where's
I
my
say?
dollar?
Where's my dollar?
Retroactive dollar bet.
I think for that I should give you $1. That was
It's just like an
timing.
implied dollar bet. You just know that you made it.
that is
But,
something else.
yeah.
I'd forgotten about that. Thank you for bringing that up, Matt.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know how they're doing. Michigan is terrible this year.
Yeah, are they?
Probably not gonna make the tourney.
Oof.
It's all
Didn't
right.
they start top 5 or something like
Yeah, we did. We did.
I think he's just doing the
Anywho,
same.
This
He's
isn't no more Michigan
he's
talk
just
for a while.
hoping.
No more Michigan. We can wait till the fall.
that? Wait
Take a
till the
little break.
fall.
Take a little
Wow.
break.
Jesus, man.
They used all their resources of football this year.
That's
I don't know,
like-
Kid
and
Rock's
it-
got an album coming out.
And it was worth it. Dude, Kadeen, you probably put more hours in Kid Rock than I have in my life. Dude, I want him to turn on his laptop. It's just all summer long on repeat.
His Spotify wrap-up playlist is
It's a
nothing
solid
but
song,
Kid
man.
Rock. All right. Well, I think that's going to conclude the episode. That concludes the State of the Union. This is District Divided, a DC sports podcast where we clearly touch all sorts of topics. I am Amit. That is LC. That is Matt. That is K-Dot. A happy new year once again. We do this every Wednesday, 3 p.m. And we do the Washington football team preview show. Last one of the season coming out Friday, 2 p.m. against the Giants. You don't need to watch it.
You
I'll
guys are
just
still
tell you
doing
right
that?
now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Why?
Until the very end.
There's still a game to preview.
And then we got an offseason to preview, and that's going to be the Washington football team offseason series. K-Dot and I are going to talk about building an NFL franchise, the philosophy behind it, and the importance of the relationships between the owner, the general manager, the team president, the head coach, and the coordinators. How that all works, how recruitment works specifically for Ron Rivera, Marty Herney, Martin Mayhew, and the likes of them. And then we'll talk about the draft and free agency as well. So that's going to take place of the Washington football team preview show. And then we're going to talk about Old Glory DC. That's also going to be coming this year because rugby season is upon us in 1 month and 1 day. So if you enjoyed the podcast, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends. And until next time, we will see you later. Enjoy your day.
If you see me on the streets, feel free to approach me. I might be high. I might say some stupid shit, but feel free to approach.
Yeah, just work on your final line.
Yeah.